Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, how are we getting on? Welcome to a brand new Fallout 76 news video, and today Bethesda has released the final update before Steel Rain goes live, which will be next Wednesday, and they are looking at the legendary crafting system, which we've touched on in a fair bit of detail before, but there's a couple of extra changes here to talk about and a few extra tidbits as well, so probably be short and sweet, but let's jump in, take a look at what they've got for us. Okay then, so we have a new Inside the Vault post today, and looking at the legendary crafting system. It's another dev dive video, so that's cool. Little interview with a couple of the team members who've worked on the legendary crafting system. So there's some interesting bits in here, sort of about their opinions and what their goals were behind the system, what they wanted to achieve with it. So that's quite interesting, but I think the key stuff for us is going to be how it's going to impact the game, how it's going to affect us as players, obviously. So let's jump in and take a little look at that. Okay, so Legendary Crafting Dev Dive, Inside the Vault. So, welcome back to Inside the Vault. Next week on July 7th, so that's Wednesday, looking forward to that. We are releasing Steel Rain to Fallout 76. In addition to new quests, we're also bringing the new Legendary Crafting System. Read on to find out more. So, the Dev Dive, as I say, video here if you want to check it out. I will link it down below. Obviously, I will also link on cards in the corner here, and hopefully down in the description as well, videos that I've done on this topic already, because we're going into a decent amount of detail. But there are a couple of cool little bits of information here that are worth having a look at, and a couple of little changes since those videos, so let's have a look. So we sat down with Martin Raymond, the lead systems designer, and Michael Creasy, hope I'm pronouncing that right, who is also a systems designer, to discuss the legendary crafting system. Check out the interview below where we discuss the new system and how it works. So, get ready for legendary crafting. With this new system, you'll be able to turn normal items into legendary items, reroll their attributes, and upgrade or downgrade their star ratings. We're adding a new crafting component called Legendary Cores, which we use alongside legendary modules to make changes to your items. So, legendary modules available from the purveyor. Basically, going forward, the only thing really worth spending your script on, other than Vault Steel if you want the specific armor sets that use that. But we're talking a difference that is absolutely massive compared to rolling at the purveyor if you use the legendary crafting system. So for a 3-star legendary ranged weapon, if you go to the purveyor to get it, say you've got a specific one in mind with specific attributes, you're looking for a 1 in something in the order of 100,000 chance of getting the item you need, whereas if you go with the legendary crafting system, that drops down to closer to 1 in 1,000. So massive, massive difference, and obviously the different items available, armor and melee weapons and blah blah blah, all that other stuff, they're experiencing similarly massive changes in terms of the reduction of RNG, so that is definitely the way to go. Legendary cores, of course, coming from seasonal events, public events, and daily ops. You will have to grind those out, but in the time it takes to build up enough legendary modules via script, you'll be able to grind those out anyway, I think, so it should be a pretty nicely balanced system. So, legendary cores can be earned by completing seasonal events, public events, and daily ops. With your legendary cores and legendary modules in hand, you can visit weapon and armor workbenches, open the modify menu, and get crafting. You can also visit power armor stations, as pointed out here. You can even upgrade power armor pieces by visiting power armor stations. Most legendary attributes that are available to armor can also be applied to power armor, with a few exceptions. Basically, the few things that have taken off, I can't remember exactly what they are off the top of my head. I think they're actually listed on the wiki if you don't want to check them out. But the general gist is either they'd be massively overpowered or they just don't make sense on power armor. So they're sensible removals. All in all, it's going to mean for those of you who have power armor builds and prefer to run around in a power armor all the time, you will now be able to have legendary armor as well as the benefits of being in power armor. So, in addition to this, we are adding some new legendary attributes and have revisited some existing ones. Here are a few changes you can look forward to. So this is not a comprehensive list. There are changes to more of the attributes, particularly on the 1st star, than there are remaining the same. So it's a massive balance pass on this as well, which is really, really cool. And as I mentioned in the video, they're actually building up on the basis of One Wasteland at the end of last year. The idea there was to kind of bring things down a bit, restore a bit of difficulty to the game, and create a new sort of basis from which to adjust things further. So this basically builds on that in what they're saying is the first major change in terms of players' potential damage output, and I think that's fair. So, the new things we've got listed here, we've got Aristocrats, which is a brand new legendary mod. It'll be going on both weapons and armor, and that increases your damage as your caps increase, or in the case of armor, obviously damage resistance. There is a maximum of plus 50% damage at 29,000 caps or above. The cap total, I believe, is going up as well with this update, so the maximum number of caps will be 40,000, I think, rather than 30,000 that you can carry. So there's a bit more leeway at the top there, but that 11,000 caps at the top will get you a 50% damage bonus or damage resistance bonus if you have Aristocrats mods on. So to give this a little bit more context, that basically brings it into line with the Junkies effect. 50% sounds like a big boost, but it'll probably put it just below Bloodied and Anti-Armor in terms of its effectiveness, but above most other things, and it'll be, like I say, on the same level with Junkies. The other ones look like they're less good for the most part, but there's some extra considerations in here as well. So Assassins has been updated to increase damage versus humans, which it already was doing. It includes NPCs as well. And it's now going from a 10% bonus to a 50% bonus, which is still not as good because it's situational. It's only against human-type enemies, so running it with super mutant is no use to you, but still, it makes it slightly more worthwhile if you are wanting to, say, swap weapons out, or if you happen to have one of those already. Also, if you end up on that when you're rolling and you run out of resources with which to recraft your item, then Assassins is slightly less crap than it used to be, I suppose. So, VATS Enhanced is getting a boost, which is increasing the VATS hit chance from plus 33% to plus 50%, which should mean the majority of the time, unless you're at extreme range, you should have pretty good chances to hit with VATS Enhanced gear, which is really, really cool. Another new one, the Gourmands one, is damage increases as you fill your hunger and thirst meters up to a maximum of 24% damage. And the Juggernauts, damage increases as health increases up to a maximum of 25% damage at 95% health or above. So, I'm not expert on the details here, but what they were touching on in the video is that the idea behind this stuff is to facilitate sort of foodie builds and high health builds, things like that. So there are other things you can do to boost your damage output through food and things like that. So the reason it's sitting at, say, 24% maximum damage increase for the Gourmands one, the food-based one, is because it's assuming that you will then buff your damage further with different food types. Basically, that should, in theory, then bring it into line with everything else once you've got your food buffs on the go, if that's the type of character build you want. Which is cool for those who do it. It's a little bit niche, I think, but it does mean that these things are kind of situationally useful as opposed to just being blanket not as good as some of the others. Unless, of course, you're just not into doing that sort of thing, in which case it wouldn't be particularly useful to you. So, Last Shot is a new one as well. That means the final round in a magazine has a 25% chance to deal twice as much damage. So, nice, but I don't think it's that great. One of the devs was talking about having a sniper rifle wherein he basically keeps it perpetually on its last shot. I don't know if this can spawn on black powder rifles, for example. If it can, that would be quite useful, because every shot's your last shot. So if you end up with that, you'd have 25% chance to do twice as much damage. But it probably will still be outperformed by instigating, in my opinion, because that's double damage if your enemy has full health every time. So, I don't know. I mean, it can have more opportunities to tick, I suppose, Last Shot, but less chance of it doing so in some ways as well. So, I guess it's not bad, but I don't think it's a game changer, that one, really. So, Mutants is getting updated as well. That is now going to increase your damage by 5% per mutation, rather than just across the board, giving you a maximum of 25%. And I think this is, in some ways, it's similar to the Junkies one, in the sense that the more addictions you have with Junkies, the more damage you do. That maxes out at about 50%, whereas this is only 25%. I think the idea here is that you would have specific mutations geared towards further boosting the damage of the weapon type you favour. I think that's the theory, but saying that, unless you're going for a really specific build and hyper-focus your mutations on that, which a lot of people do, but not everybody does, then it's still not as good as some of the others, but it does make Mutants a lot more valuable than it used to be. And of course, if you wind up with a Mutants one, and Mutants weapon of some kind anyway, and haven't got the opportunity to roll for a better one, then at least you haven't got utter trash in the meantime, so it works well as a stepping stone, I suppose, as well. So, the Overeaters is the equivalent to the Gourmands one, but for armor. It increases your damage reduction up to 6% as you fill your hunger and thirst meters. And that's 6% per piece of armor. So you have, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces of armor. Just had to count there. And you can get up to 6% boost for each one. So it brings it into line with other things. And it's actually quite effective if you've got it on multiple things. Multiple armor pieces. So That's not so bad, but obviously on its own, maybe not great, but you have to stack into being a foodie build for that one. Again, it's designed to complement the Gourmand's one, so that makes sense. So, the Suppressors is also getting an update. It is damage reduction applied to the target has been buffed for 20%, from 20% for 3 seconds to 25% for 5 seconds. So, Suppressors basically means they do less damage to you after you do damage to them. It's basically going to increase the damage reduction compared to what it was before. Not massive. I still think this is not going to be a great choice, but it's slightly better than it was. As I say, there are a whole load more, and I suspect when the patch notes go up on Wednesday, we'll be covering this probably in a whole load more detail, so that's going to be a huge video, I should imagine. But very, very cool nonetheless, and we'll look into some of the cool stuff and see what interesting tidbits we can pull out of that when the time comes. So, last thing on the list for the blog post today is Bonus Challenge Week. For those of you who are still chasing those last few ranks, you've got some extra daily challenges running this week that started on Tuesday the 29th, so that was Tuesday just gone, and it's running through till next Tuesday. There are 2 extra daily challenges every day to give you, basically, is it 500 extra score per day? So you can get a little bit of an extra boost to push you on towards the end. So hopefully that will help a few of you out. So, not vast amounts there that is entirely new. A couple of interesting tidbits and a little bit more expansion in the video there on the mindset behind some of the choices Bethesda have made, which is interesting to know about, because there are details in there that I hadn't considered, wasn't really aware of. Particularly stuff around foodie builds, stuff like that, the gourmand stuff. It's not something I've ever really looked into or done much with, so I found that quite interesting. And it's good to know that the level of detail they're considering with their balance choices here is pretty advanced, so that's cool. It's not as big a gap between certain things as it would appear on the surface numbers, so very, very cool. So very much looking forward to the update on Wednesday, very much looking forward to jumping into the new season as well. Season 5 will begin on Wednesday as well. Looking forward to that. So, do hope you found this useful and informative, and it added a little bit of detail to the update coming next week. If you did like the video, please do consider dropping subs and likes for me. It is hugely, hugely appreciated. Social media links, merch store, and channel memberships all available down below the video as well if you're interested in supporting the channel that way. Thank you very much to everybody who's done that. It really, really helps out. And if you get a chance to join us on live streams as well, we are, of course, playing on with Fallout 76. Looking forward to the Steel Rain content. Going to be doing that for the first time on stream next week. And, of course, we are pushing on with Mass Effect 2 as well. But for now, thank you very much for watching, and I look forward to speaking to you all very, very soon.